Alrighty, well that was EA's press conference, the start of E3. This is Scott with Dashing Nerds, along with a couple of my friends.
I'm Joe DeVader, aka The Debaga.
Hi, I'm Peter Spezia. You can find me at rhymeswithasia.com.
So boys, the first conference of E3 2016, what did we think?
It was a rough go.
Oh, that set the bar pretty low. Wow.
Can only go up from there, that's for sure.
I didn't think I would miss the long, extended gameplay demo because usually sometimes that can drag a press conference's momentum down.
But at least it's something, right?
But it's proof of concept, it's proof of gameplay, and to see an absence of that entirely from EA was rough, and it really suffered as a whole product because of it.
I would definitely take those proof of concept videos over developer diaries. That seemed to be very prevalent with this year's press conference with EA. It opened up with a lot of talking. Yay, we're EA. We're not a bad company that America makes us out to be. Talking about lots of things coming up, and then transitioned right into Titanfall 2, which has been talked about and people knew were coming out.
It got leaked this morning, too.
Yeah.
So
That's right. It's another instance of a company that's trying to do rehearsal footage, and they flick that live button, and that whole Titanfall single player trailer leaked. So we got to see the October 28th release date. With talking about the company, there were 2 drops of we're giving $1 million away, and I don't think that was necessarily the place to show it at an E3 conference. Well, I mean, it's EA Play. It's their whole separate thing. I mean, this is why it's a Sunday night thing. It's before all the big events go on. But I think even though they were trying to rethink how to present themselves, they need to go back to the drawing board because it was very reminiscent of that conference a few years ago where they were showing games that were way too early. And there was still that Criterion game from a few years ago with all the crazy action with vehicles, and we haven't seen anything of that. You know, is it canceled? We don't know. But
was it just a tech demo that they were hyping up to eventually become a game that never happened? Right. But like you were saying about the $1 million drops, it was for Madden 16, not 17's championship series, like a big tournament esports thing. And then that they're giving money to charity.
for more dollars. I don't remember what charity exactly. I don't think they said.
It was a few. It was like Code 2040, Code.org, the women's group for.
It was across different charities to provide more inclusive options for gamers and all that.
It rubbed me the wrong way. Like $1 million is great. That's fantastic. But when you make so much money like EA does, it's like people have raised more money from that, like for League of Legends tournaments and Counter-Strike.
Desert Bus raises more than that every year.
And that's just with people donating because they like it. EA, this multi-billion-dollar worldwide studio, like business, will give you $1 million.
And you'll be happy with it.
It'll be happy.
The first 15 minutes, it was almost split down the middle between games, and you could almost question if it were, games like gameplay footage. That was almost questionable. But the other half within that first 15 minutes was, aren't we great? We're giving money away.
We're not the bad guy.
I don't get why everyone hates us.
It's like, look at all the good stuff we do.
Though I will say, I did going back to the esports stuff, I did really like that, to be perfectly honest. I don't think they should have taken that long during the trailer to talk about that, but if any company was going to be the Capcom of sports games, I think EA is the one that fits that the best. But really, guys, at your E3 conference?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at the same time, I think that's a fair point. As someone who's played sports games for, years. I mean, 15, 20 years at this point. But, as a player who likes generally the Madden games, I want to know what's different about Madden 17, and where do you show that
at all? Talk about Madden 17's features at all.
You show that at E3 of this year, and we didn't. So
I think when it really comes down to with the sports games and a lot of the press conference, balance. It wasn't balanced well. Yes. I'm completely with you about talking about esports. If any company is going to be really pushing esports into the main spotlight and everything, ESPN, things like that, it will be EA with the EA Sports brands and things like that. I just thought it was very strange how they spent 10, 15 minutes talking about Madden 2016's this esports championship and everything like that with no coverage or even real footage of Madden 2017. other than that it's
The little
this
sizzle trailer, yeah.
right, the sizzle trailer.
That really showed nothing. I don't even think there was any gameplay.
Right.
It was all in
the
engine.
Madden 2000
In-engine, yeah.
the Madden announcements were also presented in the UK.
Yeah. It's.
What a good idea.
I think it was an interesting idea to have it be between the two locations, but yeah, the timing. They had weeks to plan this out, and they thought, let's go to
Right.
London for our Madden talk. For FIFA, hands down.
Exactly.
Especially when,
That
great
made
idea there.
sense.
well, especially when you're talking about all the different Premier League and the
The
different
things
managers there.
they would understand more than I
That's a
would.
big deal. You show the new Manchester United manager, Mourinho. Like that makes sense in London. Like that would not make sense.
Like no other country cares about American football.
I mean, and that's not to say we know that there are people all around the world that play Madden. That's not the issue. It's Madden is like a US thing. Like
the rest
that,
of the
like-
world calls it American football. It's that ingrained here.
people take days off works when the new Madden comes out. I know people that do that. It just was very, very strange to me that they did the very little Madden talk, or really all the Madden talk in the UK.
Well, when you're talking about pacing and structure, I mean, between Madden and FIFA, you finally had Mass Effect Andromeda talk, and for Mass Effect fans, like you had the last two E3s where you're the first year was just this small little.
It was
tease.
like little concept art of like the new armor and things like that.
It was,
yes, it's coming.
It was that year with the developer diary and behind the scenes and all that. It was a very similar almost conference to that. And then last year you had to open up the conference, Johnny Cash, and you're showing some, concept video
cinematic
footage.
concept,
yeah,
right.
but this year to go back to the developer diary route.
when it was supposed to initially be coming out this year.
Yeah.
Yes, it's been since moved to quarter 1, probably later quarter 2 or 3 next year.
Judging by how little they had to show, I'm assuming quarter 1 is very optimistic.
It's like they showed the Asari, they showed the new ship you'll be going around, they showed the Mako. Like, briefly, I mean, nothing in depth. I mean, and that looked cool. They promised more info in the fall. I'll be really interested at this point to see what they show in the fall.
I mean, does fall count Gamescom? Like, with that? I mean, because that's more late summer, but it makes you wonder. And I think the frustrating part for me in particular was the internet was really hyping this up. The people at BioWare in particular on their social media channels, like, boy, wait till we show you what we have at EA Play. I just got goosebumps from what I saw about Mass Effect Andromeda. Like, you got a demo coming? We want to see, playable characters. Who's
Right.
going to be on our squad? At least show us that. And I didn't feel really much of anything.
Not
I mean-
a single Krogan.
No, they showed a Krogan dropping a human down a cliff.
I
in
must
the
have
teaser.
blanked.
And they showed an Asari, or what looked like an Asari with like tribal war
Yeah, I
paint.
saw the Asari. I didn't see the Krogan.
Which is interesting when you're talking about returning races, and they're like, well, there are going to be new species. I mean, in humanity is the alien. It's like, oh, well, there's a sorry. No, there's
I want to
Krogan,
assume,
yeah.
if I had to guess, the story is going to be that all the species sort of gathered together and decided to go to Andromeda. If
possible.
I had to make a theory there.
Maybe.
And then so it went Madden, Titanfall, Madden into Mass Effect, back into FIFA, where we found out more about FIFA's story than Mass Effect's with The Journey.
Isn't that unbelievable? A guy comes out trying to act like a thespian and just be a big actor about it. But
Right.
I was almost
Alex
thinking, like,
Hunter.
show that it's a Spike Lee joint. Like, I want to see that popped
It was
up.
a
And
bad movie, like, plot.
Yeah.
Synopsis, basically.
But no, you're right. I mean, we had people pointing out, it's like, wow, we're learning more about FIFA's story.
You were the one that pointed it out.
Actually, it was in our community, DQP.
Okay.
But I brought it up in the room. Like, really, guys? Look, here, like, people are going to buy the EA Sports games. Doesn't matter if you show them at these conferences or not. They already have a solidified audience. They're not going anywhere. These games are going to sell super well.
Right.
You don't need to spend, like, it had to have been half an hour of that hour-long conference was EA Sports games.
Oh, definitely. Between Madden's Championship Edition and all the EA majors, like there's big esports events that they're doing, and then FIFA and everything.
Now, granted, it makes sense because
Right.
of how many EA Sports games they have, but for them to only show
Yeah, they only
two,
showed
Right.
two of
No
them.
UFC. I was
Yeah.
surprised about UFC.
yeah, Yeah, and of all the different
Right.
sports figures to talk about, yeah, you were saying maybe
saying
before the
Ronda
conference,
Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey for UFC, but yeah, to show European football managers, didn't think that was going to be
Right.
a thing.
And I know that like NHL hasn't been huge, isn't necessarily a huge brand for EA Sports, but to no speak of that or PGA Tour,
No NBA.
no NBA, no UFC. I mean,
Look, some of those make sense. I mean, NBA is totally outclassed by 2K. PGA, ever since they adopted the Rory McIlroy brand, it's not the same. But yeah, NHL last generation was their highest critical acclaim sports series. And for that series to kind of go where it's been into the next generation is a little surprising.
it is nothing. No need for speed news.
Nothing. No driving games.
No
at
driving.
all.
Period.
Yeah.
That also was a bit surprising. After the FIFA and they moved away from the sports, they went into the EA Originals, which is the another one of the segments where we're EA, we're not really the bad guys. We helped the little guy.
We're publishing all these indies.
We were
Here's
helping the
one.
little ones, kind of like what they did for Unraveled last year. They had a new one this year called Fee.
Fey, I think. Fee or Fey.
It's hard
Everybody's
to say.
pronouncing it
F-E.
differently.
Sharp F-E.
Well, it is hard to say because they at first say, I almost thought the game was going to be called Fear.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
we
sounded like
thought it was
Fear.
Fear.
Yeah, but then Fee, you'd think like Fi, almost like Fee from Legend of Zelda:
Zelda.
Skyward Sword. Yeah, Faye would make the most sense, I guess, but yeah, we'll see how. It's a Swedish game, a
Right.
Swedish
It looked
developer,
interesting.
so-
It had kind of when they were first showing it, I definitely got an Ori vibe from it.
Yeah.
It had
Yes.
that kind of
Yeah.
blues and purples, the light kind of pastel-y color palette to it. Wasn't super crazy.
The best description I heard was it looks like Journey mixed with Limbo, sort of, art style wise.
Okay, I can kind of see that
And I think Ori and the Blind Forest fits a little bit better than the Limbo comparison.
as far as
Yeah.
the color palette.
Yeah, the
goes,
color
yeah.
palette.
But I could definitely see where the Limbo comparisons would come in.
And this one's kind of 3D. It's almost like a 3D platformer, almost a 3D Metroidvania style of game. It seems like where you're an animal, like a wolfish kind of creature that communicates with sounds with other creatures.
Using music. That's
Using
a pretty
music.
good concept.
It's one of those games that it's like, okay, that looks kind of interesting. That would be a title I could download.
I'll definitely give it a shot.
It was the one moment of the conference where I felt satisfied.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Right. It showed like an actual game.
Yeah.
It was really one of the only games to show game.
Yeah.
Basically. Oh my god, that's really
Really,
sad.
because I mean, even when you think about it, FIFA showed just cinematics really from
Mostly,
Journey.
Yeah, we were.
They showed gameplay of older FIFA games.
Oh, that's true. They
They
did
did that
show
countdown.
They did the countdown, FIFA countdown, and I guess Battlefield they showed a little in their trailer. Mm-hmm.
Well,
But
we
FIFA was
think that was gameplay. We don't know for sure.
right. The gameplay.
It,
But no,
it,
FIFA.
it just goes back to 2 years ago. It really does. Like they're showing like what targets are and what they want their in-engine footage to be, but when it just comes down to it, the gameplay. And yeah, like I said, like I kind of miss seeing at least one demo, like just start to finish.
Like we
demo.
give Ubisoft a lot of crap every year for their really awkward. Everybody goes out and it's pretty much obviously pre-scripted gameplay stuff, but at least they're showing a game.
Yeah, they're usually real and authentic that way.
This conference has made me appreciate the really corny actors and scripted gameplay segments of other
It
conferences.
was so boring.
Oh, see, when you said corny actors, I thought we were going to talk. Oh, let's go up to Jamie Foxx and Zac Efron.
Zac Efron.
Neither of them look
in
happy to be in that room.
Being
I want people to count how many times they saluted or wanted to try saluting because I think they were trying to like one up each other and it got super awkward.
because when you think Battlefield 1 competitive multiplayer matches to show off Battlefield 1, you think Zac Efron and Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
I-
And
why
PBG
not?
apparently in that tournament with them, PBG is part of it. Terry Crews.
Well, certain
Yeah.
YouTubers are making the media rounds and that's good for them. Good opportunities. I mean, they'll be on YouTube tomorrow on their big live stream. So
Oh yeah. And then before we saw a super bored looking Zac Efron, they did only talk about the Star Wars games that will be coming out for the next 3 years or so. With Jade Raymond, it was good to see her back.
yeah,
Briefly talking that all these studios are doing Star Wars games. Got a confirmation of Battlefront 2 for next year.
Which, really, guys, you're making a sequel to Battlefront already?
It's my theory is it's going to be Battlefront with a story mode and levels from Episode 8.
Well,
that
and
is
also
bad.
7. They're talking about they're going to add the newer movies as well. But yeah, I think they're going to definitely add.
Obviously,
the
that
campaign.
couldn't be added with a simple expansion
Totally
No.
not.
or a DLC, of course.
But Super Mario Galaxy 2 back in the day. I mean, they had to make
yeah,
that a
but
standalone.
Mario Galaxy was finished when it came out. So
True.
Fair point.
I picked up Battlefront a few weeks ago up at a Myers for $20.
Wow, that's a pretty good deal.
It was. I wouldn't have bought it otherwise.
We got it through GameFly, and I didn't have the heart to start it up. So
I played, I think, 3 matches. I mean, it's a beautiful game. It's just
it's gorgeous. I mean, when you do photogrammetry, it's always going to
Right.
really amazing.
right, but nothing. They didn't really say anything new. We knew Amy Hennig was writing for a new Star Wars game. We knew Respawn was doing a action adventure Star Wars game. We knew Motive, was it? Jade Raymond Studio.
Yeah.
They're doing another.
They're helping.
Action.
They're helping with Visceral's game at the moment, but
Okay.
I think this one seemed to lean more towards that. Like when they make a game on their own, like it'll probably be a Star Wars game as well. And Motive's interesting because Mitch Dyer was a personality over at IGN, and he went over to be a writer over at Motive, and it seemed to be that like he pointed out on his Twitter that it's like, oh, I'm in the photo, like I'm the top of the head that you can barely see there, but I'm there. So it seems like he's there writing a Star Wars game for Motive.
Right.
So like that's interesting to at least learn. But over on my website when I did E3 predictions and all that, like I said, will we see the reveal of more than one Star Wars game? And I can't count these as reveals because for those that are in the know and follow
Right.
game news, they said nothing new and substantial.
and even if
And they
you
didn't
weren't- even
show
if you weren't
anything
in the
new
know.
or substantial.
I mean, aside from the few seconds of Amy Hennig's game over at Visceral.
I need to cough.
Okay.
It's okay.
No worries.
But even if they had, if you weren't in the know, they still didn't say anything substantial outside of, yeah, these studios are making games. Okay, bye.
They'll be cool.
Yeah,
They'll be pretty
they'll
cool.
nice.
Wish we could show you them.
I know Stig Asmussen. He was at God of War 3. I think he was the director of God of War 3. So like, it's in good hands. But it's again another. We're going to show you very early conceptual developer diaries. Like those are fine to a point, but
Those are fine for not E E3.
yeah.
But
I
like
agree.
this is Star Wars. It's the biggest franchise on Earth, and you have nothing to show us.
Don't show us things at this point. Like, release a dev diary or something after
YouTube.
E3 on YouTube
Just
or
put it on
something. But
YouTube.
like, if that is going to be a focus, like a 5 to 7 minute focus of your E3 press conference, you don't just show up with people working on their computer tablet adjusting Photoshop color values for
They've
30
done
seconds.
They've done this before because they did this with
Right.
Battlefront a couple years ago when it was first in production. They did it with Mirror's Edge Catalyst the year after they announced it. It was just a developer's diary.
I'll tell you, it's the same thing over again. It's 2 years ago. We hated that conference. This one was terrible. Yeah, it's D minus because I don't want to call it
Right.
an F. I don't want to discount entirely.
They put in the
people's hard
effort
work.
to put on a conference, so
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't deny that outright, but it missed the mark in so many ways. And yeah, we can briefly talk about Battlefield 1 because even that I think it
the
showed it
teaser
perfectly.
that their Battlefield, they ended the conference with Battlefield 1, which is fine. We had kind of expected it. They led it with a teaser of a trailer that they were showing about 5 minutes after the beginning of it.
And the teaser was part of the trailer.
Right. They didn't even start when they showed the full trailer. They didn't even fast forward through the part that you had just seen as the teaser at the beginning of the Battlefield 1 segment.
I've never seen anything like that before.
That's pretty
ever
crazy.
done.
And like not a technical gaffe at all. It's poor planning, and they had the time to
Right.
do this. The trailer looked great, but it's the execution and the planning behind it. I think it was a lot of missteps.
You are asking the audience to still sit through 15, 20 seconds of something that you literally just showed them for no other reason than to do so.
Made absolutely no sense. Most of what they did during this conference made absolutely no sense. There comes a point where if you have that little to show, don't go to E3.
Don't show it or just don't hold a conference. I mean,
Yeah.
still go to E3 and stuff, but unless you have actual substantial stuff to show, it's not worth people's time to sit them and just to show them dev diaries.
Like I harp a lot on Nintendo this year and how they're not doing anything, but it's obviously they know they don't have anything to show, so they're not doing a full direct. They're doing the treehouse and stuff still, but that's not really the same.
They adjusted
Right.
their strategy.
Exactly.
And so we're going to see Bethesda tonight, who had their first ever E3 conference last year, doing that again this year in a time where we think, do they have enough to show? And obviously they made the business decision in the thought that we do have enough to show. We can plan a good show behind it, and we'll see if that can come through. But it's going to be a kind of a comparison between two very different strategies. One who skipped E3 to do their own thing, and one who's trying to follow up a successful show last year with maybe more of the same.
It'll definitely be interesting. Who knows? But this final scores for EA. You already said you gave
I
it.
said D minus.
D
Like,
minus?
it's one of the roughest shows I've seen, but I can't outright give it an F. I can't be that internet, bold contrarian, because like there was work behind it, but it's just a lot of really bad planning. And I'm trying to think of what I've seen worse at E3, but I can't come up with too much more.
There weren't even like funny bad parts.
No.
Yeah, it reminds me of Square's conference last year, but I got to give them the benefit of the doubt, or not the benefit of the doubt, but I got to give them credit that at least they showed more than Square showed last year. But at the same time, I was just as bored.
Square still showed gameplay, a lot of decent gameplay though last year.
They talked a lot more.
They
though,
did talk. This
the
is
issue.
true.
So I think I'm gonna actually agree with the D minus. I can't give it an F because Faye looks good, and they at least showed something from some things, and they didn't make it go longer than it needed to go. It was still just an hour, a little under that.
Yeah.
So if it had been any longer, oh no, that would have been an F.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to join with you guys. It was definitely a D minus. The games they showed, like the gameplay of Titanfall, they did show single player. They showed again the leaked single player footage from Titanfall with the AI buddy robot that you can talk to and stuff now. The Battlefield 1 looks amazing. I'll be curious to see how the actual stream of the big multiplayer thing that they were pushing goes. Fi Fo Fum looked amazing.
I smell the blood of...
Exactly.
A deer thing.
It was just a lot of random, strange placed, organized confusion with everything. It's confusing that they're releasing Titanfall 2 a week after Battlefield 1.
Yeah.
That
Or
doesn't make any
vice
sense.
versa. That doesn't make sense, but you done fucked up, EA.